So hello everyone, Paul Wilkinson and I, Edward Foster, are having a discussion on various things. I'm just going to talk about simplicity of vision,
okay,
on what that might mean. So let's simplify things right down. So I paint, should we say, and you play music.
Yeah.
Let's do that. So
okay.
why do we do that? Well, it's a calling, it's important for us as well. It's our way of expressing things. It's a beautiful pursuit. All these beautiful things, but also it's a sense of reaching for the profound, a sense of pushing deeply into something to express how we feel about what we find when we go beyond that little that perimeter, that wall, that fence. We go beyond, and we want to go beyond. We want to seek something. Do you find that in your music now, and you've been doing music for a long time, many years, do you find that in your music, are you consciously seeking something, or is it just like as intuitive? It's a natural thing for you to seek, and as you're seeking it, you might be aware that you're seeking it, you might not, and then sometimes it's when you come back that you're more aware of it. I know that's a very convoluted question.
No. Because we're talking about it, we're trying to talk about something intellectually, which is hard to talk about, isn't it?
Yeah.
What was it that a Zen Buddhist said? If I'm to speak the truth, I remain silent. But if I remain silent, I tell a lie. So I suppose that's where we're trying to say. But I suppose I liken it a little bit to a radio area, an old FM aerial. I've spent all this time practicing all these technical things. And you put the aerial up, and you hope that you catch something special. But it's not. It's not, in a sense, it's not an intellectual journey. You're just trying to break through. So when I begin my improvised concerts, I'm trying to begin with a blank slate, and I want to be surprised. I want to surprise myself, which I hope will surprise the audience.
But to have got to that stage,
yes,
you must have travelled to that stage, in a sense.
Yes.
So you do have a baggage with you that you brought with you, and the ways of being as well,
yes,
which
yes.
of course we all have.
You're talking now about the frustrating thing. You've got this bag of tools, and you can see yourself going to those things. So when I'm playing, I can see myself going towards something I always go to, and there can be a moment where the mind goes, no, you always go there.
Right.
Don't go there. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, I stop and try and go somewhere I wouldn't go.
Technically and
emotionally, absolutely.
But to be able to do that, to have that leap of faith,
yes,
there has to be also a slightly guiding hand to it.
Yes.
So it's not just a random leap.
No.
Yet it must have. You must have courage and endeavour and belief to go into that too. But you're creating something new. That surge. You see like a fish in the water, and you're surging into the water, and you're creating that flow. So that surge itself is that divine moment, perhaps.
Yeah, but those moments can be rare.
Yeah.
I liken it to like you go for a walk up a mountain, yourself, and it's sunny, and you visit, and you stop, and you go to the pub, and you have a nice meal, and you carry your things up, and it's sunny. But the next day you do it, you get stuck in a bog, there's mud, it's raining, you can't see anything when you get up. And I'm sure you can relate to this with your paintings. It by virtue of it being spontaneous and it being improvised, it's not always good.
No, it's not always good. It's muddy, isn't it? A bit. So I think on painting that sometimes, I'm not bored with some of the painting. I feel like I'm going through it a little bit. You have to. I suppose it depends on how long you take on something. That's a slight factor, but it shouldn't be a restricted factor because you think, oh, it takes me this long to do that. That's not necessarily a good thing because we can't think of time in that way. But it's a kind of routine of going through something, but you then have these small or these sudden pinnacles within that. And say you have a trudge, but then you have this boom, this moment, an enlightened moment, but it isn't a moment because it's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's a drudgery, and it's the light.
It's now.
Yes. So
because there is only now.
There is indeed, and I think being creative is not a very. It's not how it's portrayed often as this. Oh, it's gushes out. No. Being creative. The enlightenment is in the drudgery, in the slow movement, and the kind of, in a very simple way, it's as you make it up. It's just a terrible phrase like that. As you make it up, is that beautiful light, and you feel like there's a falsity to what you're doing. I think there's a slight falsity. You feel like, maybe repetition, and you think, well, what is this? What is this? And if you have a bit of where you feel like, is this really good? Am I really doing something with that? I'm not sure about that. When you have that, that's quite good, because I think doubt is doubt, but a kind of doubt that comes in is actually saying you're going somewhere that is unusual, and that isn't an obvious path or somewhere you've been definitely before.
Yeah.
And so you feel uncertainty.
Yeah.
About your purpose. So.
But you kind of you keep pushing through because you don't know you may be rewarded with that. I mean, obviously, when you're doing this on a larger scale with more musicians, then the situation's quite different because somebody, a bass player, for example, may say, you may get to a certain part in a piece, particularly if it's an improvised piece, where the bass player may strongly say, "We're going here," and start something. And then that's the interest, because the other musicians have to make, in that moment, a decision of, it's almost like a democracy, are we going? Are we not going?
But I suppose that's when you bring in others, isn't it?
Yeah, which is probably, is more trickier, of course. But I mean, I am a very hard taskmaster on myself. I try and record all my concerts, and many of them are just for my own pleasure to listen back. Because I don't want to release something or share something that I don't feel is something new, something different, and not repeating the same thing. And I'm sure, as I know yourself. But
there will be repetitions within it. There has to be.
There has to be if you're using the language of harmony. For example, you have favourite things, and you go to those favourite things, as I said earlier.
You have that, don't you? You have echoes of things. So it's a very, very slow way of pushing into new worlds, new boundaries, isn't it? It's not like a sudden leap, is it? It's not like a boom, you're there.
No.
Because you then have to fill that gap in, wouldn't you? If you're creating something new and you're here and you have a leap to over there, okay?
Yeah.
You feel like, I'm not sure about this, I don't know if this works, and that can happen. Yes, then you feel like you have to go back a bit and maybe fill in the gap a bit to get to where you got to, in a sense. There's that can happen. That's interesting, isn't it? That you have that leap and you feel, oh God, no, I'm not sure about that. So do you think usually these breaking through into these new ways is a gradual thing?
I think it's work.
Yeah.
I think it's work. I'm always, I think is it Franz Liszt who said, what's technique without character? But you do need this sense of I've seen you draw a circle, and I've seen me draw a circle. And you have worked at drawing circles. I haven't. And there is this thing that I'm sure you agree, where you have to build up a certain technical prowess or a work to be able to push through that. But then, actually, on the opposite, a few months ago, my little nephew, who's like 5 or 6, came to the piano and just stood and played the piano. He's never played. And I was just amazed at what was coming out. Because I'd learned to play a certain way, and he hadn't. And he played this, I mean, he was a bit of palms and a bit of this and a bit of that, you know. And he played all that, and they called him Arlo, and it was absolutely stunning. And then he said, would you like to play that? Now, of course, I couldn't remember this 4-minute free playing, but I had a go. And he was like, yeah, it was good, that. Now, so there is this sense where you can learn from these people who don't have this technical prowess that you have. So there is this balance.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I agree. I think with children, I'm very inspired by their artwork because I think their vision is well, it hasn't got the layers of years.
That's lovely.
And it's just got this simple primal beauty to it, which, you know, beauty doesn't always have to be built on foundations. It can be a very, very fine thing, like a butterfly's wings. You know, it can be something
absolutely,
you know, as transcendent as that. So I love children's artwork.
And again, and we've talked about this a number of times, they're not running out concepts fully of reality at that point. They are. This is, and I do, you know, I have a love-hate relationship with Immanuel Kant, but, you know, Kant calls the noumenal world, we'll never know the world in itself. Well, some people disagree and say, we are the thing in itself. And those young children just exhibit that. In a book I'm writing, I write about how my son used to just sit in the stream for 3 hours on his bum with his waders on. He'd be sat there, and I used to sit and think, what aren't I seeing?
Yeah.
Why is he? He is nature, and that's even bad to say it's a divide. He was just.
Yes.
And I was like, let's get in with him. You know, a funny story which you might not remember, but me and Eddie once went. We were walking somewhere up Ebden Bridge, and I was talking to Eddie, and then I looked round and he was in the river with a stick walking in the middle, and you said, are you coming in? You might have remembered it. I'm sure it's an everyday occurrence.
Yes. Any river.
And I went, yeah. And my son was there, we all went in actually.
Yeah, I remember.
And he started returning to that I think we really need to. I like the phrase, to create in this creation. Whatever this is, it's like the ultimate thank you.
Yes.
To give back.
Yeah, and I think that's important. And I like the way we've talked about work, hard work. I mean, these are words that we use, but you need to put in that time and commitment.
And it's play, isn't it? Maybe we should get rid of the word work. Because I play the piano, I don't work the piano. You don't work at painting, no.
No.
I mean, you are, I suppose.
Well, you do. You develop skills, but you develop yourself within that, and then it releases the opportunity for you to give full skill and potential to the visions that you have within you.
Yeah.
So you know, use it, but you know, like we were saying with the children, they're coming straight with that raw vision and just put it straight down. They might not have the technical skills to draw a perfect, I don't know, rabbit or whatever it is. But you know what it is, in a way, and it's a vision of something because they see it as it is to them, and that's how they simply put it down. And that's beautiful because then, especially in art, I mean, well, good art, what I would call good art, all the great artists have got to the pinnacle of technical heights that they can do anything, and then they think, well, this is boring, and then they just try and do their own language in art to show how life is, and then they go and express themselves in their own unique way. You know, so all the great artists have done that. Yeah, but they've got to a technical, like Picasso, when he was a kid, he could draw like the masters, and he just thought, well, this is boring, and so he just went back to try and draw him like the child and paint like a child, and he can be criticised for that, and he did a lot of work, and some of it you can be criticised because the quality isn't brilliant, but he was constantly seeking this vision of that beauty, and everyone knows Picasso. Yeah, you know, I mean, so. It's easy to criticise those we know who have achieved greatness, and I would say that.
I think you learn I think the jazz musician Wayne Shorter used to say about the members of his band. He said, you know, it's a little bit like you go to a fun fair and that your little boy or little girl can't see and what's going on, and then they stand on your shoulders, and then suddenly they can see further than you.
Mm.
And I think that you study, a lot of people study these great masters, and then they fly, they can see further, or see again, maybe further's the wrong word, but see something again for the first time.
Well, I think all the greats or after a profound vision of the world, you look through their eyes and they open up those profound visions for you, and then, because you built up the skill, then you can start to express those deep visions that come to you in your own unique way. And when you see, say, a child draw, or even an adult, everyone has their unique way of drawing, putting pencil to paper, etc. That's how they start, you know, and that's their unique, and that should never, ever be driven out of them, because that's their soul. And what happens is, their soul gets driven out and they become flat. And I mean, it's a bit controversial, but I think a lot of English art is rather boring now. I think there's only a few interesting, you know, artists doing stuff. I think it's just English art is so boring. We want, you know, just a typical landscape and a typical thing and a typical this and a typical that, which is beautiful, nice, and everything too. But you know, what do I want? A typical Sunday lunch. I just want to get up at a certain time, go to work at this time. It fits within that, which, you know, again, it's not a criticism, it's an observation. And I think if you really do look deeply into the profound, you cannot do that because you're denying the essence of life. And if you have the skills to create and show, and you have the bravery, and you want to do it, and you feel it, this calling, go with your calling, because otherwise you stop yourself.
Like just before we came on to the next video, we were talking about Cezanne when he said that phrase, all art lies, but it points to the truth.
Yeah.
And what we're saying is create.
Yes, create, and you don't have to be a perfectionist or spend every hour of every waking day doing it. Just be creative.
Whatever it is, be creative.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah,
Thank you.